Good morning, UUCA. The first time I visited UUCA was in 1988. I'm so glad to be back. It's not the first time I'm back since then, as Taryn said. Who was here in 1988? It's great to see you again. A few things have changed. What a journey this congregation has been on, and I want to say how grateful I am for this opportunity to be with you, and what a wonderful experience it's been arriving and experiencing your love, your radical welcome, oh my goodness, and the vitality that is so clearly present among you, between you, within you. It's a joy to be here. It's also just such a joy to be with Taryn, my friend and colleague Taryn, who such a great joy to watch Taryn grow into this gifted, creative minister. I'm so proud to be your colleague, and I'm so glad that you all are together here in Atlanta. And thank you for your support of UUSC. Some of you are members, and thank you. Some of you have never heard of UUSC, our Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. I can't wait to tell you more, and I hope you will be excited to be part of UUSC with us and join our journey of justice. We're going to begin with a video now that I'd like to share, which is a poem, Mate Fele Penem, by the poet Kathy Jetnil-Kijner. It is both written and read by Kathy in the video. Kathy is the founder of UUSC partner Jojikum, an organization in the Marshall Islands. Jojikum means your home, and works to support the education and engagement of youth on the Marshall Islands as they face many of the devastating impacts of climate change. You may remember that the Marshall Islands were the site of extensive nuclear tests. The United Nations provided the United States access. Don't ask me how that makes sense, provided the United States access and use of people's homes and land through trusteeship territory. 1947, over 100 nuclear tests on the Marshall Islands, causing massive displacement and ongoing harm to human and other life. In September of 2014, Kathy, the founder of Jojikum, the poet, was invited to address the opening of the UN General Assembly in New York, and she did so with this poem.
Dear Matafele Benu, you are a 7-month-old sunrise of gummy smiles. You are bald as an egg and bald as the Buddha. Your thighs that are thunder, shrieks that are lightning, so excited for bananas, hugs, and our morning walks along the lagoon. Dear Matafele Benum, I want to tell you about that lagoon, that lucid, sleepy lagoon lounging against the sunrise. Men say that one day, that lagoon will devour you. They say it will gnaw at the shoreline, chew at the roots of your breadfruit trees, gulp down rows of your seawalls, and crunch through your island's shattered bones. They say you, your daughter, and your granddaughter too, will wander rootless, with only a passport to call home. Dear Matafele Benum, don't cry. Mommy promises you, no one will come and devour you. No greedy whale of a company sharking through political seas, no backwater bullying of businesses with broken morals, no blindfolded bureaucracies gonna push this mother ocean over the edge. No one's drowning, baby. No one's moving. No one's losing their homeland. No one's gonna become a climate change refugee. Or should I say, no one else. To the Carteret Islanders of Papua New Guinea and to the Taro Islanders of Fiji, I take this moment to apologize to you. We are drawing the line here. Because baby, we are going to fight. Your mommy, daddy, boo-boo, dimma, your country, and your president too, we will all fight. And even though there are those hidden behind platinum titles who like to pretend that we don't exist, that the Marshall Islands, Tuvalu, Kiribati, Maldives, and Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines, and floods of Pakistan, Algeria, and Colombia, and hurricanes, tidal waves, and earthquakes didn't exist, still, there are those who see us. Hands reaching out, fists raising up, banners unfurling, megaphones booming, and we are canoes blocking coal ships. We are the radiance of solar villages. We are the rich, clean soil of the farmer's past. We are petitions blooming from teenage fingertips. We are families biking, recycling, reusing, engineers dreaming, designing, building, artists painting, dancing, writing. We are spreading the word. And there are thousands out on the street, marching with signs, hand in hand, chanting for change now. They're marching for you, baby. They're marching for us. Because we deserve to do more than just survive. We deserve to thrive. Dear Mata Filipinum, you are eyes heavy with drowsy weight. So just close those eyes, baby, and sleep in peace. Because we won't let you down. You'll see.
Matafele is 10 years old now. Her mother is still writing poetry, still leading community change, still fighting for her people, our planet, and raising her precious daughter. And I trust she still holds a bold imagination for us and for our future. She says there will be no more climate refugees. Can you imagine it? In February, I heard Professor Ruha Benjamin, a Yale professor, speak about her new book, Imagination, a Manifesto. One of the important messages of Dr. Benjamin's book is that while we celebrate imagination in some arenas of our life, we have given up on imagination in others. To help us understand the crisis of imagination our world is facing, she invited those of us who had gathered there at the bookstore in Cambridge into an exercise, and with apologies and gratitude to her, I want to invite you in to this experience of what Dr. Benjamin sees in our failing practice of imagination. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask half of the room to join me in one response and half in another response. So when I'm motion here, I would ask that you respond and mean it. Be bold. Be bold. Thank you. And when I motion here, I'm going to ask that you respond and mean it. Get real. We can build smart cars that drive themselves and keep us safer. We can educate all of our children. Artificial intelligence will open new doors of innovation. We can provide a living wage to all. We can arm and train our police and military to create safety for some. Ceasefire now. We will support life in space. There will be no more climate refugees. You hear us, right? At the Unitarian Universal Service Committee, we are blessed to be in relationship and partnership with people who practice faithful imagination and healing connection, or you might say courageous action and soulful connection. These are two fundamental principles I believe are needed as we weave a tapestry of love and action for the sake of a world that reflects our love of it and our commitment to justice and peace and love. This is a sermon about and an invitation to faithful imagination, the imagination that is needed for a world where all can thrive, where all will flourish. I am grateful for the privilege of sharing stories from the work UUSC is doing with our grassroots partners around the world. Like UUSC partners who met together 5 years ago, coming from Pacific Islands, from Bangladesh, from the coast of Louisiana, all of us meeting together in Alaska with indigenous communities from Alaska as well. And in 5 rich and joyful days together, which were funded and supported by UUSC, these indigenous climate leaders shared stories of challenge and resilience, and together they imagined strategies and solutions. I tell you, hearing the chief of the Newtok tribal community in Alaska and Mark, a veteran climate activist from Fiji, I know that it is possible to hold the devastation and the joy. This gathering of UUSC partners was the most joy-filled organizing and strategy gathering I've ever witnessed. There was music and laughter, beautiful color, the honoring of young and old, all of this in service to joy. And joy I came to see was the power that propelled these activists in their work for justice. One of the hopes that arose out of that gathering was to create a project to document and expose the human rights violations happening right here in the United States, faced by tribes in Louisiana and Alaska who are being displaced, who are becoming themselves climate refugees. And just last spring, in partnership with UUSC research and advocacy staff, our partners in Louisiana and Alaska welcomed the special rapporteur of the Inter-American Human Rights Council to tour the loss and damage that has already caused so much harm, the loss of livelihood, the loss of safe water, the loss of safe homes, and is threatening, putting at risk culture and tradition and identity. The report issued by the Human Rights Special Rapporteur will be used to document the challenges these communities are facing and to call on our government to stop abusing human rights in these ways. In our migrant justice work, UUSC focuses on 3 aspects of the crisis people are experiencing. First, supporting grassroots organizations working for justice in this hemisphere in particular, working for justice so that people will not have to take the migrant journey. They will not have to leave their homes so that it will be safe for them to stay. Secondly, also providing safety to people who are migrating. And finally, working with organizations and partners, ensuring access to asylum for those who have this human right, who should be afforded this human right. Some of the work we're doing on that last part of our strategy involves UU congregations in a program called the Congregational Accompaniment Program for Asylum Seekers. We partner with congregations who are creating communities and welcome so that asylum seekers who do not already have a sponsor in the United States will have a place to be supported, a community while they are moving through the asylum process. We are so thrilled that our CAPAS coordinator, Jess Sapalio, will be joining you here, actually in Atlanta, on April 6th, as you will be gathering, some of you, I hope many of you will join Dot Matthews, as you gather with other people of progressive faith in this area to explore what it might mean to accompany people seeking asylum. And I hope that this will be an experience that helps bring to life the power of accompaniment as an act of justice, as an act of solidarity. Accompaniment is an image that means a great deal to me. I started, my very first church job actually was as a piano player, accompanying the hymns. And so the idea of leading from behind or beside means a lot to me. And it's one of the things I love about UUSC, that UUSC isn't seeking to be center stage, to center ourselves, but to accompany our partners as a way of leading for justice. Imagination, of course, as I've said, is another really critical part of our leadership for all of us as we hope to create justice. In 2019, at the time of the youth climate strike, you remember the youth climate strike in there have been several, but in 2019, a big global climate strike, and the essayist Rebecca Solnit wrote a beautiful piece in honor of the youth climate activists that was published in the Guardian. I'm going to share just a little piece of what Solnit wrote in what feels like a love letter to the climate strikers. She said, "I want to say to all the climate strikers today, thank you so much for being unreasonable." That is, if reasonable means playing by the rules, and the rules are presumed to be guidelines for what is and is not possible, then you may be told that what you are asking for is impossible or unreasonable. They will tell you the rules are that those we see in the news and the parliaments and boardrooms hold all the power. And you must be nice to them, and perhaps they will give you crumbs or the time of day or just a door slammed in your face. They will tell you that things can only change in tiny increments by predictable means. They're wrong. Thank you for not being reasonable. Thank you for remembering your power. Thank you for being bold. Our mission at UUSC affirms the inherent, Our mission at UUSC affirms the inherent dignity and power of all people. I was surprised by learning about this adaptation that UUSC made when I joined the staff, adding this element of inherent power to our principle. It's a critical addition. Just as a lack of imagination prevents us from the work that is needed, a perception that we are powerless paralyzes us, essentially giving in to systems and governments that wish we would just get real. When we lose sight of our connections, when we fall into cynicism and despair, when we allow the perception of powerlessness to paralyze us, we are playing into the hands of the tyrants. Leaving power out also causes us to treat other people who are facing systemic oppression, as though they are their oppression, that this defines them. And defining people by the ways systems marginalize them perpetuates injustice. UUSC partners consistently and stubbornly claim their power and reject the notion that there is little we can do. 27 young adult law school students have demonstrated for many around the world the potential of people with a vision of justice and equity who know their power. Maybe you've heard their story. In their environmental classroom at the University of the South Pacific, they were given the assignment of creating a strategy, an international legal strategy for addressing climate change. They researched previous actions and campaigns and decided that what they wanted to propose was that the United Nations General Assembly vote to call on the International Court of Justice to issue an advisory opinion setting forth a framework of accountability around the climate crisis. What they realized is that there's a gap. There is no framework of accountability, no international framework of accountability for the harms that have been done, that are happening, and that we anticipate will continue happening. And so they said, we want the General Assembly to call on the court to issue an opinion that will set forth a framework of accountability. They took their proposal to the Pacific Island Forum and essentially got a nod and a congratulations. I'm guessing they got an A. But this was no idle exercise for them. By the time they were finished, they knew that they wanted nothing less than a vote of the UN General Assembly, call on the court to issue this opinion and create a framework of accountability. So they formed Pacific Island Students Fighting Climate Change. UUSC was one of the first funders of the Pacific Island students. Here in a photo in just a second, you will see UUSC's Director of Advocacy, Salote Soko, with Solomon and Vishal, campaign directors. At a visit in Boston in 2022, Solomon and Vishal told UUSC's board that it was funding from UUSC that made it possible for them to attend the International Climate Conference in Scotland, and it was there that they were able to organize larger funders and really propel their campaign forward. UUSC has also supported the students by providing UN credentials and connecting the leaders with housing in New York during the intense period of their campaign. It's one of the things I love about UUSC, how as a small organization, we can make small but really important things happen. With the sponsorship of the nation of Vanuatu, the 27 students took their campaign to the world and ultimately received the support of 120 of the member nations of the General Assembly. Can you imagine? On March 29th, 2023, in the General Assembly Hall in New York, Salote and Vishal and Solomon sat together and watched as the UN General Assembly adopted by unanimous consent the student proposal. Can you imagine? Around the world, and with your support, UUSC works with partners to challenge the systems that disconnect us, the systems that allow us to turn away or to shrug helplessly and sigh, get real. In rejecting the notion that there is no other way and little we can do, feminist activists in Poland, the Pacific students, Grassroots partners in Burma, feminist farmers in Nicaragua, land and water defenders in Honduras, democracy activists in Haiti, and many others are building the new world that we are imagining together, that we are beginning to understand is a world that is possible. When you are tempted by despair, I hope you will remember Vishal and Solomon and Ineza and other UUSC partners. I hope you will remember that with them we can resist injustice, joining together for peace and justice and love. Our resistance can take many forms. We hope that you will join us as one of your practices of resistance, but I know there are powerful means of resistance happening right here in Atlanta that you are currently engaged in. People will tell you to get real, but I want to thank you in advance for being unreasonable. Your being unreasonable is what they always say when people claim their power and challenge the existing structures. When youth challenge their elders, when indigenous leaders challenge colonizers and industry and demand protection for community sources of water, when congregations challenge authorities and regulations by welcoming someone into sanctuary or accompanying an asylum seeker. In her love letter, Solnit concludes this way: "You may be told that what you are asking for is impossible or unreasonable. Don't listen. Don't stop. Don't let your dreams shrink by 1 inch. Don't forget that this might be the day, this might be the pivotal year when we rewrite what is possible." May it be so.